Nightswimming. Written by Melanie Anagnos. Read for you by Zachary Johnson. Preface. Paterson, New Jersey. Paterson is often described as physically static, a time warp rooted by a skyline of once vital mills. Some are brick and some are sandstone, and all of them are vacant. Urban revitalization and other missions to lift this once great manufacturing hub, this mighty producer of silk, have been fitful. What has always anchored the city, its beating, iconic heart, are the great falls of the Passaic River. The falls are wondrous. They were both muse and motivation, sparking Alexander Hamilton's dream to create a national industrial center. The 77-foot plunge of raging water inspired the poetry of William Carlos Williams and the prose of Junot Diaz, and served as backdrop for a memorable scene in Season 1 of The Sopranos. In 2009, the falls were authorized as a National Historic Park by then-President Barack Obama. Yet there is more to the city than the power and natural beauty of the waterfall, and there are other entry points for anyone wanting an introduction to Paterson. Buildings as diverse as the Argus Mill, Public School No. 2, and the Cathedral of St. John are on the National and State Historic Registries. One building, though not a designated landmark, has exceptionally good bones and a distinctive lineage. 111 Washington Street was initially the site of Peter Colt's residence. The name Colt is all over the city of Paterson. The four-story gun mill directly below the Great Falls, a section of downtown called Colt's Hill. At the dawn of the city's golden age, with the Civil War ended and silk production on the rise, the family was known for textile money and became the subject of gossipy news reporting. Into the 21st century, the name remains memorable for Samuel Colt and the many guns he invented. Colt revolvers were the legendary sidearms of the Texas Rangers, the gun that won the West. In 1869, Paterson's aldermen purchased Peter Colt's home for its first city hall. When the Great Fire of 1902 devastated the brownstone, a three-story structure replaced it. Designed in the Beaux Arts style with arched doorways and signature green lanterns on both sides of the entrance, the stately new building at 111 Washington Street then became headquarters for the Paterson Police Department. 1. Sunday, January 14th, 1979, 1:47 a.m. The tavern's rear window was a perfect black square. With a near-empty parking lot as its backing, the mirrored glass gave an angled view inside RJ's tap room, mostly reflecting a paneled wall lined with photos of the owner-sponsored softball team and the gold-plated plaques from their better seasons. The bottom corner caught a profile of Randall Lowe sitting on a round-top stool. Using the freshly wiped bar as a desk, he was tallying the evening receipts, the only task he hadn't hurried since closing. He'd been brisk passing towels over beer spills and crushed pretzels, mindful that Cindy was waiting on him for her ride. She'd helped with the cleanup, and the two had settled into a comfortable silence as Foreigner and a few other bands echoed from the jukebox, seemingly on repeat. Once at the register, he'd wanted it quiet, but Cindy kept pushing quarters into the metal slot. Randall told himself not to get sharp with her, and tried to shut out hot-blooded. Or maybe it was double vision. He checked his watch, then reviewed the columns of precise numbers he'd penciled into the ledger. The music was more and more jarring to him. He was about to tell her no more, when a set of high beams flashed through the window, startling Randall with a brief trail of light. The moment passed in the milliseconds of a camera shutter. Randall knew he was tired and maybe a little too edgy. The glare would have come from a car making an illegal U-turn off the side street. It wasn't unusual. Still, with the sudden light, there'd been an instinctive reach beneath the cash register. Randall not even thinking he'd already taken his gun from its hiding spot. Keeping his focus on the again darkened window, he patted his coat pocket, feeling the heft of the snub-nosed .38. Then he redirected his energy into wrapping up for the night. His hand went back to the secret drawer, his fingers running along the chafing wood where the right side had begun catching on the hardware. The drawer was homemade. If someone had the time and desire and not the key, they could take it apart in less than a minute. Randall was thinking of adding a floor safe a bit more up-to-date. He'd heard about those in newer bars around Paterson, a place to squirrel away the bigger bills and stacks of 5s and 10s that often piled
Sample complete. Ready to continue?